Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option Podcast. Hello. It is a new episode of the Sprint Ride Option Podcast. I am Andrew Pasquini. Jason Aponte with me, as always. And Jason, I'm just going to get on with it. Am I pressing the panic button yet?
No. Again, cause for concern, one thing, straight up panic, a whole other thing. But there's a lot to discuss. So, let's get to it.
So I should be concerned, not so much panicked, just more concerned about the well-being of the San Francisco 49ers right now.
Just a little. I mean, there's a lot to discuss, and there's a lot of layers to this thing. And I'm certainly glad that we waited till Wednesday to do this, actually, now that we have some interesting quotes that are out there now and other things that have kind of been floating around that we can address. And I'm sure that people are going to ask questions, and a lot to discuss. A lot to discuss. And that discussion will begin with the 49ers 28-21 loss against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. They fall to 2-2 on the season. Seattle bumps up to 2-2 on the season. The Niners are looking up at everybody in the NFC West, as I believe they are the quote-unquote last place team, because the Seahawks own the tiebreaker through 4 weeks, and that's okay. It's still very early, and these past 2 games make you feel better that the Niners took care of business against the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions, because 2-2 is a hell of a lot better with those 2 losses coming against the Eagles and the Packers and Seahawks. I got my Sunday night losses mixed up there. My bad. And it's a bummer. It's a bummer to lose to the Seahawks, and I have thoughts on this game. I'm sure Jason has thoughts on these games. My first thought is, and this is where I really want to start this conversation. In my opinion, and I don't know if this is an overreaction just on the game aspect, this game was lost when the Seahawks scored their first touchdown. To me, that's when I was like, the Niners aren't winning this game. It was 7-7, but entering the Seahawks touchdown drive, they went 15 plays for -9 yards. We're talking about 5 minutes left in the second quarter. The Seattle Seahawks have -9 yards, and the San Francisco 49ers offense can't put up more than 7 points. And when Seattle went down the field and scored a touchdown to make it 7-7 at the half, that is when I thought this game's over, because winning teams who win football games are not up 7-0 when the opposing offense has -9 yards and 5 drives. Right. And, watching it again, because it's so easy to get wrapped up the first time you watch it and have a bunch of emotions. But watching it again, it's really baffling how the 49ers didn't have more points, especially considering how well they were moving the ball. The first drive looked easy. It almost looked like, hey, this is a game where they're going to bounce back. Then you find out before the game that Robbie Gould can't kick. You're missing field goals now. The Jimmy Garoppolo interception really derailed things as well, too. But I had a hard time believing the same thing. Like, how is this game tied? This game, it feels like it's been dominated the whole other way. The 49ers on defense came out and they played strong. I want to give kudos to a lot of people on the defense, including Emmanuel Mosley, who had a very good game. And I thought D'Amico Ryans was dialing it up. Dee Ford had a good game. But when your offense is stagnant, when your offense isn't able to put up points, when you're missing field goals because Mitch Wisnowski is not a place kicker, yes. So I mean, I'm not gonna blame him, as much as that joke has been running to the ground at this point. But yeah,
Twitter running jokes into the ground, that never happens.
Yeah, I had to tell everybody, okay, we get it, guys. Enough. Yeah, we get it, as usual. But yeah, I mean, it became a little bit more frustrating when I watched it back a little bit more, because it's like, man, this game should have never been anywhere near as close. The 49ers had a chance to really put them away. And I agree with you. Once that first touchdown goes in, it's like, oh, well, here we go. Because you're never going to keep the Seahawks down for that long. And the boogeyman is Russell Wilson, and somehow he'll figure it out. And you are just not going to hold them down all game like that. It's just not how it works. And again, the 49ers kind of lost this one on their own, volition, when you're talking about
not being able to put up points, not being able to sustain drives. That interception on the other side of the field. Trey Sermon looked very good. They were running the ball well even before Trey Lance gets into their game. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, the 49ers had chances to put this game away pretty early. Fortunately, it didn't happen. That's what happens when you let the Seahawks hang around, and they'll eventually get you.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I had to rewatch the game because Sunday there was a baseball game going on, and we don't need to talk about baseball today. I sent my dad a picture of the first half stats because he was also watching the Giants game, and I said, "How is the score 7-7?"
Right.
The Niners had 12 first downs compared to the Seahawks 3 at halftime. The Niners had 37 plays to the Seahawks 23 and 219 yards to the Seahawks 80. And obviously the offense starts clicking a little better in the second half, and that opens a conversation that we're going to have here in a minute, Jason. I know we're getting to it. It's just, I've seen that Jimmy Garoppolo interception about 14 times, not just that one. I'm just talking that style of interception where he just doesn't see a guy in the middle of the field and he makes the throw. And that's, it's hard. It's getting hard to defend at this point because we're a very pro Kyle Shanahan podcast. We are, we only Shans, the joke we didn't start it, but we ran with it. And this offense is getting 7 points in a first half where their defense absolutely dominated. We are now talking about the third game in a row. I know we had the fumble in the first drive, of the season. We're talking 3 games in a row of just extremely slow starts. And this was the first touchdown on the first drive of the season for the Niners, and that's great. You get out that 7-0 lead, and then you do nothing. And I know the missed field goal, obviously the Wisnowski thing exists. It absolutely does, and I get it. And I know the Niners are looking at other kickers because Robbie Gould goes on the IR, and that's a bummer situation. At some point, you got to look at this offense and see what's not working. Well, they got the leading receiver in the NFL right now in Deebo Samuel. The run game is still what it is. George Kittle's not getting so into the offense, but is what it is, whatever. So now you got to start looking at things. And now all of a sudden at halftime, there's a switch because your starting quarterback has a calf injury. And yes, I know the situation's different where you're going into the game as a starting quarterback 0-0, and the Niners are tied 7-7. Trey Lance really gets going when they're down 21-7, so he's going to get more opportunities to kind of control the ball. But the offense looked a little bit better in the second half, and I wonder what that reason is.
Yeah, and for everything, I mean, I guess we might as well just get into it right here at this point. But concerning Jimmy Garoppolo, again, the inconsistencies. Jimmy is Jimmy. He'll have a throw where you're like, look at that, and then literally the book is out. It's been out. Quandre Diggs is spying him in the middle of the field. He tries to work right. He tries to, as soon as his eyes lock into the middle again, that's it. Break on the ball because that's where he wants to go with it. And credit Diggs for making a great play. But again, you don't see him. You're not seeing the guy. This isn't an underneath defender at this point. This is somebody who's up top. So play calling was a little bit suspect as well. The fourth and 2 call. I hated it. That 4th and 2 call. I absolutely hated that throwback to Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Jaquez Patrick, you've been on the roster 2 weeks. This is what you dialed up. And I had people telling me, well, you wanted to be more aggressive. Yes, with shots down the field, not trick plays, okay? Like, that was a play that was terrible. I hated it. It was awful. No one will convince me that was the right play call. And that's the part that you should be concerned with. Listen, play callers are going to have their bumps, right? Mm-hmm. Andy Reid, at a certain point, sometimes had to give off play calling to someone else. I'm not saying that Kyle Shanahan does, but even the greatest minds sometimes, they get a little stagnant. What is it? Is it the quarterback? Is it not trusting them? Like, what is it? There is something that is up for concern. The play calling was a big concern for me. I did not like that 4th down call. I hated that absolute throwback play. Mm-hmm. I think that is ridiculous. I think that that's one of the worst plays you could have run right there. I don't care how open the guy was. First of all, you're asking a guy who's been here for 2 weeks to execute that play, and then you're asking someone who has deficiencies throwing the ball deep down the field to throw the ball deep down the field. It's baffling. I don't get it, and that's why he doesn't skirt criticism in this game at all, Kyle Shanahan. Okay. No. Trey Lance comes into the game. Obviously, he takes his lumps in the beginning. The game starts moving a little bit faster for him, but when you see the things that can happen when the play breaks down, or if he's not seeing things and what he can create, this is something Jimmy Garoppolo cannot do. That is it. And notice that throw to George Kittle over the middle, it was a fine throw. Jamal Adams makes a good play, almost a touchdown. But the legs, keeping things moving, that fourth down play, the one to Deebo Samuel, the throw, that's impressive. That's something that's not in Jimmy Garoppolo's bag. At this point, what you saw in a half is what this offense could have been for these entire 4 weeks, whatever, again, it's not up to us who starts at quarterback, but that was just a small glimpse of what it could be. And again, and for anybody who was like, well, what's up with the game plan and why, this, well, you don't install 2 game plans for 2 quarterbacks. No. But Kyle Shanahan, you have a quarterback who sometimes struggles, sometimes gets injured. You cannot have Trey Lance in a state of not understanding anything. So it begs the question, what have you been doing to develop Trey Lance? Yeah. Because a situation like this could have popped up any week. It just happened to pop up this week. And I hate the idea that he was so unprepared that it was what you saw in the beginning. But Trey Lance still was able to overcome that. I guess there's my rant for that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Shanahan. The one call that I didn't like personally, and this is a personal thing, I'm more aggressive than some people are on social media and all that stuff, is they scored a touchdown to go down 21-13. They're doing the conventional go for 2 thing, down 14. Laken Tomlinson got called for a false start with 2:10 left in the third. That's a situation they were in. And instead of trying the 2-point conversion from the 7-yard line, he runs out Mitch Wisnowski to try a 38-yard PAT when he's not, like, if it's Robbie Gould, like, whatever, take the PAT there. You feel comfortable with your kicker. You're not trusting Trey Lance to get 7 yards on a play. Like I know 7 yards isn't 2. I understand that. I understand it's a lot easier to convert the 2-point conversion at the base spot. But if you get 2 there, maybe it's a little different. Maybe it's not. I don't know how different the game is. I just feel like Kyle Shanahan is missing aggressiveness sometimes and realizing like who he's going against. I don't think 5 yards should scare you away from going for a 2-point conversion in that situation. And that's just me. I don't know if you agree with me or disagree.
Yeah. I agree about going for it on 4th, and especially when you don't have the kicker at this point. Like, I don't know if that's something that's practiced where Mitch actually tries field goals. I don't know about that. I'm not going to speculate on that. But yes, I absolutely agree with the aggressiveness. Let me point out something else real quick. Mm-hmm. If I would have told you before this game started, Chris Carson would have 24 yards rushing, DK Metcalf would have 4 catches for like 20-something yards, Tyler Lockett would have 2 catches for like 26 yards, what do you think you would say the score would have been? You would have said the 49ers rolled in this game. Mm-hmm. How did they score points? How indeed. And you know what? I am not going to fault the defense. The defense, no. If I would have told you again, they scored 21 points, you probably would have said the 49ers win this game. Seattle coming into this game, most yards allowed per game in the league. You would have thought the 49ers would have easily scored 21, especially when they come out and score on 7. So, like I said, coach isn't perfect. He's got a lot of things he needs to work on. No coach is perfect. Everybody takes their lumps. And sometimes everybody's process is different, right? Mm-hmm. I'll point out to Andy Reid one more time. Before Andy Reid wins his Super Bowl, always known as the guy who couldn't get it done, couldn't clock manage, couldn't win the big game. Took him almost 30 years for that to happen. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody takes their lumps. So at the same time, you can criticize Kyle Shanahan without in the same breath saying that you want Kyle Shanahan fired, which is lunacy. And that's something else that I had to address real quick.
Well, and like even too, for the people who want to, look at replacing Shanahan, 2 things. Jed York just gave him the green light to trade 3 first-round picks, if you want to call it that, to get a quarterback of his choice, and he ended up picking Trey Lance. That's going to give him a couple more years. So, like, first of all, that theory goes out the window. Second, he just signed an extension. Third, the grass isn't always greener, man. Like, that's the thing. It's like you want to fire Kyle. Like, okay, you want to fire Kyle Shanahan. Who's the replacement? The Bills offensive coordinator, who Dable, like, he had his chance this offseason. Nobody picked him. He was supposed to be one of the top names, and nobody picked him. So, like, yeah, I get it. The idea of another head coach is fun and all, and then you realize that, like, it just because they fire the head coach doesn't mean things are going to change. Kyle Shanahan's a perfectly fine head coach, and I get people want to look at his record and all that stuff. Got to realize what he's had versus what he's given. I mean, I don't know how many teams finish the season 6-10 with majority of their season with Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard as their quarterback. And that's just kind of what he is. And it's a bummer that he's gotten one full season of a fully healthy quarterback in his coaching career with the Niners. And he went to the Super Bowl that year. And I'm not going to say he's going to go to the Super Bowl every year. Like that's right. Wild to say, but like, give him a damn chance with a healthy team, healthy quarterback. Just give me a healthy quarterback and they'll be fine. So that's my thing on the Shanahan. Like, you can blame him for things. I think he's probably the biggest reason for this loss than anybody. I know Garoppolo happened. I get it. Like, Garoppolo struggled in the first half, but usually they right ship, which they did. There was just some kind of questionable calls I had with Shanahan. So is what it is. Close the book on this game, and they got a tough game against Arizona coming up on Sunday.
One more thing to point out with coaches. The first 5 years of Bill Belichick's career in Cleveland, one winning season. You want to get rid of him? You wanted to toss him out? And for everybody, I see someone in here. I forget the comment, and it's one of our loyal listeners, Raymond. Well, did Andy Reid change, or did he get Patrick Mahomes? Well, seems like right now Kyle Shanahan is in position with a guy who can lift him up a little bit more too. So we have to give a little bit more time to that as well. But Bill Belichick was really bad for his time in Cleveland. He links up with Tom Brady, and guess what happens? Magic. Mm-hmm. So the process has got to go through it a little bit. But yes, I can understand all the criticism that's going his way, especially when you talk about the play calling, when you talk about, are you actually developing Trey Lance, and what are you doing? And here's a question in here. Blown Smitherini, I think that's how you say it. Blown Smitherine. Has Trey filled in as scout team quarterback? Maybe this is just Shanahan's plan for him this year, prepare the defense. He has at this point, but, I think Andrew made that joke, like you trade 3 first-rounders just so you can have Trey Lance run the scout so you can learn how to stop mobile quarterbacks. But he did run it for a little bit, but at the same time, are you developing? Like, we understand what the kid needs to work on. He needs to see the field. He needs to see it faster. He actually goes through progressions. He just has to go through them faster and hit them. But you're not going to I'm not going to just all the way say that he's not developing what he needs to develop on. We know the kid can run zone read. We know that the running lanes are there. If you know that he can do that, what are you doing? And again, I think you brought up this point. If you're a baseball hitter, right, and you can hit straight fastballs in the batting cage, what are you working on? Are you just going to keep throwing fastballs to the guy, or are you going to throw him a curveball to see if he can hit curveballs? So that's kind of the concern that I have. Is he being properly developed? Why is he so unprepared? And why did you trade all those assets to have a guy who isn't going to be worked on this year? Like, what's the timeline here? And why is it that you aren't doing that? So these are all questions that I have that I probably will never get answers to.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing too, is like, let's say hypothetically Trey Lance starts Sunday, right? Because I know we'll talk about things that were said today here in a minute. But let's say Trey Lance starts. He gets a full week of practice. He's going to be with the first team if he starts all week, right? So then let's see what Kyle Shanahan has up his sleeve with a full week of preparing with Lance. Because, yeah, you're right. He was running scout team last week. So the game plan they had was for Jimmy Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. And from the sounds of it, too, because I remember after halftime, the sideline reporter, name I forget who. I barely listened to the game because, as I said, Giants were on. She said how they didn't find out Garoppolo was actually out until the very end of halftime. So, like, he didn't have a ton of time to, like, prep a brand new game plan. So, like, I was afraid it was going to be a little sluggish to start. And, I mean, we saw that I think they just ran 3 quarterback runs his first 3 plays. Mm-hmm. So like, let's see what he has with a week underneath, the first team, and see what Shanahan can actually draw up and figure it out. Let's see what the game plan is against Arizona if he does start. So that's where I'm at with the Trey Lance thing. I know it was a little sluggish to start. It kind of heated up as it was going. Let's give Kyle Shanahan a full week to instill a game plan for Lance. I think that's the fair place to be.
And I think a lot of fans' frustration stem from this. Is the offense is stripped down. Kyle Shanahan is basically holding Jimmy Garoppolo's hand through this. And it's like, why can't you do that for Trey when he already gives you that sort of upside when the play breaks down and it's not there to get it with his legs? The running game opened up right away. Trey Sermon had a great game in this game, even when Jimmy Garoppolo was in there. But the running lanes are there. I don't think people understand how much Trey Lance standing there with the ball in a running back's belly at the mesh point, freezes everyone on the defense. And by the time they get to go in the direction, that person has a head start and he's already running past them. These are all things we knew. You don't have to be an offensive guru to understand how Trey Lance affects the defense and how he can impact how the running game works. So again, why isn't this something that was seen earlier? Why isn't this something that you could run earlier? You could have had the kid in there running that. I don't understand this. The more and more that this unfolds, especially with this injury now, and what was said today about, they're going to try to get Jimmy Garoppolo out there, which this completely feels like another Miami Dolphins game situation. And for the life of me, I don't understand why, because the backup is not Nick Mullins this time. Yeah. The backup is Trey Lance. You can install an entire game plan this week for Trey Lance, and this offense could look much better, should look much better. Well, so I have my concerns. I'm trying to put it all together. It's just I have a feeling that there is no real concrete plan, and that is more scary than anything at this point, because I don't know what the plan is, and I don't see a semblance of it in any way. It almost looks like what's happening with the Bears and Justin Fields. Andy Dalton's our guy. He got named the quarterback today out of nowhere. Everyone was looking around like, what on earth is going on? Who's making the decisions really? And what is the plan? And that's really what I'm worried about.
And like, even too, let's just pretend, and we'll do 3 stars after this. Let's pretend that the idea is Garoppolo is still the starter, right? Because Garoppolo hasn't done anything other than getting hurt to lose it yet. I know some people will be like, "Oh, Andrew, you're crazy! Like, he lost the job in week 3." No, he hasn't done anything to lose the job yet. Yes, his turnovers are ticking up, and that's a cause of concern. But let's say hypothetically, Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter going from this point on. Still, why don't you just give him the week off? Because then you start Lance against Arizona, you give Jimmy another week with the bye week, and then start him against Indianapolis on Sunday night. Like, I don't understand the rush, because if you have this backup quarterback, because that's what he is right now. That's nothing against Trey Lance. He's a backup quarterback right now. You have this backup quarterback for this reason. This isn't a Nick Mullins situation where there is a severe drop-off on quality of the play. Yes, you could show me all the Patrick Mahomes graphics on Nick Mullins you want. Jimmy Garoppolo is here. Nick Mullins is here. You got a guy to get a lot closer to what Jimmy Garoppolo is. Give Garoppolo this week off. You get 2 weeks off, and then you can go into Indianapolis with a fully healthy Garoppolo instead of let's say 91% Jimmy Garoppolo, because we know what 91% Jimmy Garoppolo is. We're just risking getting him hurt more, and is what it is. Like, so
that's my question too, Andrew.
That's my big reason of why I think Trey Lance should start this Sunday. I'm not saying give him the starter job yet, because I think it's obvious that Shanahan still has some reservations about that idea, and that's okay. Kyle Shanahan is a way smarter football man than I will ever be. And so, like, whatever. So to me, let Lance start this week, and then you can continue the thought that Garoppolo is a starter. And you know what doesn't hurt about starting Trey Lance this week is if he plays really well, you get 2 weeks to make this decision instead of just 1. So that's where I'm at with the quarterback position.
That's really my thing, is a less than 100% Jimmy Garoppolo is better than 100% of a guy that you traded up to 3 for.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of scary right there for me. And I think that a little bit of it is if Trey, because I'm still under the impression that I think that Trey's going to start Sunday, because if that calf was bad enough for you to not play in part of the offense struggling, how are you magically now, like, Jimmy Garoppolo at his press conference looked like a guy who thought he popped his Achilles or something, like he was defeated down.
Yeah.
Then the next day he wakes up, oh, I feel good now. Something's weird. Something's wrong. Or something's going on here. And I don't want to be that guy. But, like, again, man, if you believe that in less than 100% Jimmy Garoppolo gives you a better chance to beat the undefeated Arizona Cardinals, who already gave you fits even when this team was humming in 2019, then Trey Lance, we've got a bigger issue. And that's really what kind of concerns me. So, again, Kyle does not skirt criticism here at all. Again, you can be concerned, but it's not just outright fire. But at this point, there is concerns. I'm concerned that there's no real plan in place. What is going on to develop it? What does Rich Scangarello do around here? What do you do, dude? Yeah. You haven't helped Jimmy Garoppolo progress, and now Trey Lance isn't ready. What do you do, Rich Scangarello? Answer, please. Someone tell me, because I don't know what it is. And that should be the part
comments, please.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
Yeah. And so it's a big concern. We'll see what happens Sunday. Next time we record will be Friday. We'll have hopefully more clarity on it, and hopefully at that time maybe a starting quarterback announced, whether it's Jimmy or Lance. We'll see what happens. Jason, let's do 3 stars, and we'll talk about a little bit of what was said today and get out of here. Since we talked a lot about it, my 3rd star is going to be Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest example we got to see him this season, and he looked fine. A little shaky. First time out there with the real guys, playing a team that's, the defense isn't the best, but you're coming in the second half. I don't care if you're the 3rd overall pick or Nick Mullins. That's a tough situation to be put in. I thought he did fine. 9 of 18, 157, 2 touchdowns, and then the ability to run the ball, 41 yards on 7 carries. So Trey Lance is my 3rd star.
And my 3rd star is Emmanuel Mosley. I mean, again, being locked up with DK Metcalf, he played a hell of a game. I felt like the secondary as a whole, aside from penalties, Drake Kirkpatrick had a penalty. Dante Johnson had a sack that Russell Wilson spun out of. But of course, everybody's just going to say, oh my God, he's terrible. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson does that to everybody. But Emmanuel Mosley is balling. He's playing very well. Thank goodness, because once Jason Verrett went down, there were serious concerns what was going to happen with this secondary. Emmanuel Mosley has answered the bell. He played very well in this game. I was super impressed with what I watched, especially when I watched the All-22.
All right. That's a good one. Mosley had a very, very good game, and sometimes Seattle happens because Russell Wilson's really good. It must be cool having a mobile quarterback. My 2nd star, I'm going to share it just because it was a two-pronged attack. Bosa and Ford, man, 3 sacks combined, 5 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble, 8 total pressures per Pro Football Reference. I don't have the PFF. I use PFR, baby. I know D Ford had the offsides. I get it. But man, this is the duo we've wanted to see. This is what we've wanted to see out of them, and seeing them do it against a quarterback like Russell Wilson, traditionally really, really bad against mobile quarterbacks. I know they don't have the best offensive line, but that's okay. D Ford and Nick Bosa, my 2nd star.
Not bad at all. Nick Bosa finally got to sack Russell Wilson. My 2nd star, Azeez Al-Shaair. Jalen Smith comes up on the waiver wire. He gets cut. People are asking for Jalen Smith. Why? Azeez Al-Shaair is better than Jalen Smith.
Let's go.
10 tackles, 6 assists, 1 tackle for loss everywhere, all over the field. Him and Fred Warner. And dare I say, I don't care, I'm going to get hot. Dare I say, Azeez Al-Shaair is better than Dre Greenlaw. Now let's get spicy. Because he was playing the best out of all the linebackers in camp. And when he got hurt, it's translating now into the field, into the regular season. Azeez Al-Shaair is balling. Give that man his flowers. Stop playing.
This is a pro Azeez Al-Shaair broadcast. It's just all you need to know about it. Jason Aponte, on the count of 3, number 1 star. 1, 2, 3. Deebo Samuel. Yeah, we didn't even talk about it. We just knew 8 receptions, 12 targets, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His 2nd touchdown was pretty fun to watch. It's the Deebo we know. He gets a little screen pass out of the motion and just runs through like 3 Seattle defenders to get through. Gets the end zone. Whatever, no big deal. Still leads the NFL in passing yards. Oh my God, he's the best player on the offense, right? Like, it's not even close.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, he is. I mean, and he has been. This is exactly what he did in camp. And can I address this real quick? Kylie, you're the man, bro. I appreciate you, bro. But Drake Greenlaw needs to fix up his run defense. He's running into the wrong gaps, and I think that he's taking steps back. You're remembering 2019. You're not watching the progression. He's not progressing. He's regressing. Azeez Al-Shaair is progressing. And now Drake Greenlaw's hurt. He's falling behind Azeez Al-Shaair. This is the hill I'm dying on. But Deebo Samuel, absolutely 100% is the best player on this offense. He came out with a plan in camp and is translated. I feel like he's the number 1 star every single game for us. He's just translating it all right now. I am so proud of him right now. He heard all of the discussions. He is better. He's baking everybody. He needs to be involved more. I'm so happy for Deebo Samuel, man. He is playing so well.
And I don't know if this is a negative thing to say, but I'm going to say it, and you tell me if it's negative. It's pretty damn impressive that he is the leading receiver in the NFL when all 49ers talk about is the poor quarterback play. I think that's impressive.
Average depth of target is 7 yards. It's among the lowest when it comes to those, but his separation is crazy because of the busted coverage and the things that he's doing after the catch. Nearly every single receiving yard stat you can look at, he's at the top of, and that's impressive considering Tyreek Hill had 100 something yards and 3 tutties last week or something like that. For him to still have that, and this offense is struggling, and Brandon Ayuk has been largely absent. I guess that's the best way I can put it. I don't know what's going on because I still can't put my finger on it. For him to be the focal point and for him to still be playing so well, man, it's just kudos to Debo, man. Congratulations, buddy. You're really putting it together. You're really, really showing out this year, man. And I couldn't be happier for him because he's so vital to this offense. And shame on me for ever once thinking that Debo Samuel wasn't as valuable as he is to this offense. Shame on me.
Hey, you made it up with one of your predictions that he leads the team in receiving yards, and that's feeling really good at this point. So, So that's, I mean, you're doing better than I think everybody else was on that hot bold prediction one because, is what it is. So we called them bold predictions. So Jason, you said you real quick want to touch on things Shanahan said today. I'm assuming one of them was about Garoppolo not practicing today and maybe being ready for Sunday. We kind of touch on that already? What else stood out to you with what was said?
Kyle Shanahan heaping praise on Trey Lance. I mean, I feel like he never talks good about anybody, but for him to even say all of these nice things, it almost reinforces what we've been yelling about this entire time. He literally said verbatim what we were talking about in this game. I felt he started slow. I felt like he picked it up. I felt like he was going through it and he was going. Okay, Kyle. So now what are you saying? It's almost like you're talking yourself into it the more you speak. And for him to even heap praise on him in that way, I think that's very telling because guys could have great games and they'll be like, well, he's got a lot to work on. It's just not like Kyle to heap praise. And for him to say, I didn't really get it until I watched the tape after. And I was impressed with a lot of things. I'm encouraged with a lot of things. Give the kid the reps. Rip the Band-Aid off. Another thing that I want to tell 49ers fans, chill out on the Super Bowl talk. Should have never been a talking point at this point. It should have just been get into the playoffs, see what happens. But at this point, if this team feels like a team that is like teetering on playoff berth and maybe middling, then why are you not giving the reps to Trey Lance and helping him develop and learn on the fly? The best way to learn is to do. I'm a person that I can't visually learn. I need to get my hands on things and actually learn and do it myself with trial and error. Same thing needs to be going forward with this team, especially when you know the dynamics that he can provide. It was just a little concerning for him to hear, we're going to give Jimmy Garoppolo every single opportunity to play, as if that's going to be the way to take down this Arizona offense that is high-flying now at this point. You cannot come out and start slow in this game. You cannot. That's it. It's time for you to come out and punch these guys in the face because Arizona is playing very well. I think Cliff Kingsbury heard every bad thing that I said about him. And I'm sorry, Cliff Kingsbury. Maybe just chill out a little bit and maybe lose it. Maybe take your foot off the gas and lose this game for us, please.
Thank you for listening to the podcast, Cliff Kingsbury, though. We appreciate you. Yeah, man. This Arizona game's scary. I don't know what it is. And I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more on Friday because we preview games on Friday and all that fun stuff. This Arizona game just scares the bejeebus out of me. It's such I don't doubt the Niners defense. I don't doubt them at all, but at some point you're going to have to keep up with them. You're going to have to keep up with them. And the question is do we trust Jimmy Garoppolo doing that? I don't know. Do we trust Trey Lance doing that? I don't know. And a lot of big questions coming into this Arizona game that at the start of the season felt like, hey, that could be a winnable game. Arizona, they are what they are. And I just feel like we're seeing an MVP Kyler Murray type performance early on in the season. And it scares me. This game scares me. And going to
Good call, Vader Joe. Sorry about that. That you know what? The Band-Aid analogy is out of here. Absolutely right. Apologize for that one. That's a good call.
2-3 going into the bye week. The Niners schedule is always going to, and I know I'm diving in a little too deep into the future here, but let's say 2-3 is the record going into the bye week. How concerned are we going to be? I know that we didn't talk about this, but because after the bye week, you got Indianapolis, you got the Bears, which could be winnable, could not be. The Cardinals, the Rams, those are two tough games. And then you kind of get that easy stretch of Jaguars, Vikings, Seahawks, Bengals, Falcons. So there's 4 or 5 winnable games.
Is that easy?
That's the thing is I don't know what's easy anymore at this point.
Is that
That's
easy?
my thing. It's like you look at the logos, right? You look at the logos and be like, yeah, dude, the Bengals, the Falcons. I mean, the Falcons are the Falcons.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I just feel like this is I guess I'm getting to the long way of saying it feels too early to have a game that feels like a must win.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, panic or patience, a little bit more patience, but this game is going to be very telling. The 49ers are going to come out and they're going to have to score points. The way that Arizona stretches the field, when they put 5 receivers on the field, it means that you're going to see a lot of defensive backs. So that means more Drake Kirkpatrick, more Dante Johnson, more Josh Norman if he's able to go. Do you feel good about that? I don't know just yet, especially considering that Rondell Moore's over there. AJ Green seems to be awake, and Kyler Murray's just playing the best football of his career at this point. Arizona seems to have a pattern of doing this where they start fast, things kind of come crashing down. I don't know if we can count on that necessarily. So you have to make sure that you don't fall too far behind in these divisional games, and you make sure that you go in there. And the 49ers, a win would be great going into the bye. It really would. And then if Trey Lance performs and he's the one who plays, then you give him another week to learn. You have another week to make the decision, and then you figure out what you want to do from there with the Colts. And this is going to be a big game. It's not a must win, but this is a big game. It's a divisional game. And you know what? Arizona could be overhyped. That's possibly true, but that has never stopped Arizona from taking the 49ers all the way down to the last minute, even when they weren't as hyped. So divisional games, you kind of toss all that out the window. So, the Cardinals always seem to play the 49ers tough, always. And now they're playing well. So that's the part that should scare you a little.
Yeah, well, Jason, I really appreciate it. This is my figurative panic button. I'm closing it. I'm going to
just tuck
it away somewhere for a couple of weeks. Well, maybe I'll think about bringing it out after like Indianapolis, or we'll see where we're at. But yeah, you really calmed me down. I feel good. This is an anti-pressing the panic button podcast. I think that's the best way to put it. We're not.
Well, to be fair, I'm glad that we did this on Wednesday. I probably would have had different feelings on Monday. So, let's just see. But for everybody that's watching right now, just make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. That'll help push us up there as well, too. Make sure that you are subscribed to the audio portions on all platforms with this as well, too. So, yeah, I just had to throw that in there real quick. But, good podcast. I'm glad that we're able to talk through it. We got our concerns out there. We know what's going on. Now we know what this team needs to improve on, and we're going to see going forward. Kyle Shanahan, gut check week. What are we going to do? What do you do this week? How are you going to handle this? I have a feeling this fan base is not going to like a Jimmy Garoppolo starting on Sunday, especially when he's not going to be 100% no matter what they say.
Yeah, and I guess the best way to put it is, Jason, they will know when we press the panic button because we'll start throwing in random. Say something positive about the 49ers.
Oh, no, please don't. I don't want not that.
We didn't pull it out today. So we are.
There was a lot of positives. There was a lot of positives.
We're very calm.
Very calm.
We're very, very calm. Jason Aponte, we're calm, but as always,
let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.
And the Yankees lost.
Cardinals baseball, not the football team, please. Oh my God, Jason, I'm glad we're still live because they're hearing me say that. The baseball team Cardinals, not the
Cardinals baseball. St. Louis Cardinals.
The Cardinals baseball team. The St. Louis baseball team.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.